Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg and Chairman Jesse Garcia on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. Jesse is the Vice Chair of the New York State Party and the County Chair of the Suffolk County Party. With us is Eric Levine, noted attorney, commentator, and essayist, and I'm Judge Richard Weinberg. We are honored and privileged to have United States Senator Todd Young from the great state of Indiana. Senator Young is a senior senator from that state. He's a graduate of Annapolis, served both in the Navy and in the Marines. He's an MBA and a lawyer, serves on three very important committees, finance and commerce, and third one. What's the third one, Senator? Intelligence. There you go. I dropped my intelligence for a moment. Thank you for picking it up.
Well, yours is artificial.
Mine's artificial intelligence, but I'm the wave of the future.
All right.
So, Senator, I'm going to turn you over first to Eric Levine, and then to Chairman Garcia, and then I'll pick up.
Well, fantastic.
Well, Todd, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. I think we have to start with what is probably the single most important issue facing Indiana today, and that is the National Football Championship game coming up on the 19th, Indiana versus Miami. So I'm going out on a limb. Who are you rooting for here?
Of course, the Hurricane Hoosiers, and I think it's going to be a great game. I'm hoping for a lot of excitement, but in the end, I think you got to place your money on the Hoosiers. They've looked really solid every game, and the great thing about Coach Signetti is he never, ever lets up. Their heads will be ready for this game.
And he never smiles. I've noticed that as well. So.
Yeah, he shares that with you, my friend, but nonetheless.
Fair enough. So some people view Washington, D.C. as a place where things go to die and nothing gets done. But you've been quite active. And in particular, you've been focusing on the SHIPS Act, which is focusing on revitalizing the commercial maritime industry. Why is that so critical, and what is contained in the SHIPS Act, and what can the American people expect from it?
Thanks for the question, Counselor. The SHIPS Act is an effort to rebuild our merchant marine. We have literally lost the ability to build ships in this country. Last year, we built one ocean-going vessel the entire year. China they can build over 1,000 in a given year. Of course, they have overcapacity. We don't. That's the good news. We don't need to match them ship for ship. But when they have nearly 6,000 ocean-going vessels in international commerce, and we only have 80, that constitutes a national security risk. And here's why: we need the trained craftsmen. The people trained to build these ships. We need the shipyards equipped to build modern vessels so that in a time of war, these civilian shipyards can be repurposed to repair vessels or, if necessary, to build new vessels. We can't do that right now, and it's become an acute problem. So our legislation aims to take funds already earmarked for certain purposes and create a trust fund, much like the Highway Trust Fund, but this would be a maritime trust fund, capturing our port fees, our lock and dam fees, and other streams of revenues, so that over a period of time, we can use that fund along with some deregulatory measures to attract more private sector investment paired with those funds to revitalize our shipyards and build. We aim for 250 vessels over the next 10 years, Eric, and we think that'll be enough to move our men and materiel into harm's way as our merchant marine does during times of conflict, and also to provide us a measure of economic security so that we can't be coerced by other nations when we happen to disagree with them from a public policy standpoint. We don't want to be over the barrel, to put a fine point on it, with the Chinese Communist Party. Every time we need, if we have a global pandemic and we need medicines or something to come into the country, we can't depend on them to be kind and continue to ship things to us. So we're going to remedy this problem. Blessedly, the President of the United States, President Trump, has prioritized restoring American maritime dominance, and we are working hand in glove in a bipartisan way with the White House on this Ships for America Act. I hope it passes this first quarter.
So it's not just the merchant marine vessels that we don't have enough of. I would argue that we don't have enough for the Navy as well. We don't have enough aircraft carriers. We don't have enough just generally military naval vessels. Is there any provision in this bill? Is there something separate and apart that we'd have to look to in order to really fully fund and prepare our military?
No, it's a great point, and I think for close observers of this, like yourself and Jesse and Judge, they know our Navy's not big enough. There's an old saying when it comes to our naval capacity, which is that quantity has its very own quality, meaning we may have the very best naval vessels in the world, most capable, which we do, but at some point the oceans are very large, and you need a bunch of ships to cover the oceans if we're going to be a global power, and that is broadly understood in Congress. That's a related issue set or problem set, but a distinct one. So there's other legislation focusing on that, but what seems to be not understood by many of my colleagues and by the American people is our acute weakness on the merchant side, which impacts our ability, as I've indicated, to repair and rebuild naval vessels, which is very important.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's critically important. But speaking about our Navy, our military, a huge amount of our assets are currently deployed off the coast of Venezuela. And needless to say, everybody's aware that the United States, I think, it's great. Maduro's gone. I think it's a net plus for the United States, the region, and the world. But recently there was a vote in the Senate regarding the War Powers Act. The first vote, you voted in favor of it, and the second vote, you voted against it. I was just wondering if you could speak to why you voted the way you did each time, and if possible, to address your view of whether or not it's constitutional itself, because I know that's been a big debate as well. Yeah,
all great questions. So this issue of war powers has ever since I entered the U.S. Senate, been very important to me. I entered the U.S. Navy just weeks prior to the first Gulf War starting. I served in the office of U.S. Senator Dick Lugar, former chair of the Foreign Relations Committee and Intelligence Committee, for a period of time, during the period of time in which the Iraq War kicked off in 2002. So there's a history here. And I think I have been prioritizing this issue, yes, because I wore the uniform, but also by observation when you have very robust debate and are humbled by some of our recent misadventures in history or costly foreign conflicts. I think the American people deserve to hold members of Congress responsible for the decision to commit, significant resources and our troops. So with that predicate laid, I didn't feel like enough of those questions were being answered. Are asked and answered here in Congress. I think that over the years, frankly, we've gotten a little too casual as it relates to military force and asking hard questions, especially when when our own president happens to be in the Oval Office. That's why over the last few presidents, that I have served with, I've prioritized this issue. I supported, as did you, as we just indicated, we all celebrated this amazing Spec Ops operation. I'm so glad that this dictator Maduro was brought to justice. But prospectively, the administration has strongly indicated they have no intention of sending in ground forces into Venezuela. I believe that. But I also had a lot more questions about the stabilization and transition period. And sometimes you don't intend to send forces in, but you feel like you have to. And I just wanted to make sure that it was understood by everyone that if that predicament occurred where the president felt like he needed to commit forces to protect core national security interests of the American people, we'd debate it and vote on it. And a whole lot of people in my party disagreed with that, which I thought peculiar because we just went through a major national campaign about trying to avoid forever wars. And I voted accordingly. And then we had an opportunity days later, recognizing candidly that this war powers resolution wasn't going to pass the House of Representatives. And if it did, the president would have vetoed it, and there's no way we would have overridden it. So I had to make one of these prudential decisions that we make and vote for something that will never become law, or perhaps secure real deliverables from the administration that would give me more security about the future. I did the latter. I was able to get Secretary of State Rubio to appear before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I got a formal written commitment from the Secretary of State that is available on my website, but it indicates that if there's any desire for the president to commit forces into the country for a major military operation, they will ask for military authorization for the use of military force from Congress, not something an administration typically commits to. And I feel like I advanced the war powers aims without the war powers resolution actually being signed into law.
Thank you, Senator. Chairman Garcia, questions for Senator Todd Young.
Senator, it's a pleasure to have you, and it truly is an honor. I think the judge touched on, and our anchor touched on your background, you being a Naval Academy graduate.
By the way, I want the record to be clear. Not only am I an anchor, but I was in the Merchant Marine. But I was a wiper. And your
ship sank.
No, it did not. I was a wiper, which, as you know, is the lowest common denominator on a ship. Okay.
And as I've learned and been told, reminded over, you never retire as a Marine, and understand that you served as a captain and you served on the intelligence in the southern border. And thank you so much for that. I have two questions. One is to piggyback on what Eric just asked you about Venezuela and the War Powers Act and the use of military there. And then one to talk about one of your pieces of legislation that was had a lot of foresight in 2022, which is the CHIPS and Science Act. But first, to pick up on what Eric said, there's been some discussions about the use of contract or private military contractors in Venezuela to secure, to assist those private investment in U.S. companies as they begin the investment to rebuild and reconstruct the infrastructure there. Has that been, is it more than rumor? Is it something that is being discussed at your level and your committees and such, or is something that has been discussed with you and your colleagues with the White House?
So that's a fantastic question, and I'm not surprised. I get it from this group. Listen, it's something I've been wondering. Blackwater is, for example, a very prominent contractor that sometimes, in situations like this, to the extent there's ever been something like this, they're sent in for these types of purposes. And I heard their name circulated in the news the other day. It got me wondering as well. I don't have answers to this. I don't know that any of my colleagues yet have answers to this. It seems like if the American people are going to, rest as it relates to Venezuela, as we go from stabilization to transition, all the rest. This is the type of question members of Congress should be asking and getting answers to, which is why I think it's really important that we made a point about facilitating these sorts of probing questions through having a public hearing. It's why I'm grateful, candidly, to Secretary Rubio for agreeing to appear before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. When you have these public hearings, it leads to all kinds of follow-up questions, typically submitted in writing. You get answers to those, and it leads to further conversation. So that's just consistent with our oversight. So in short, I don't have an answer for that right now, but it is, it's one of many questions that hopefully we'll be seeking answers to. The other question pertained to, you have to remind me, I'm sorry.
The CHIPS and Science Act that you had passed in 2022 to outcompete China, especially when it comes down to the construction of semiconductors and bringing that production back to the United States, especially in the heartland, so that we're not dependent, as you mentioned, with merchant marine ships and the construction and the reconstruction of those. The construction and the advancement of those, that we finally bring the supply chain home and not be dependent upon the Chinese Communist Party. Because I think I agree with you in the premise of this, Bill, that this is it's national and economic security, and we've spoken here in the past. It's something different, but maybe connected. That you see a lot of Chinese Communist Party connected companies and corporations purchasing properties in and around the heartland of America, the breadbasket of our great country, near military bases. But this is, of course, to bring home a supply chain to build here in the United States semiconductors and other technologies.
That's exactly right, and I'm very reluctant to involve the government in these sorts of activities, but this would be a market failure, right? We went through a global pandemic. That too is a sort of catastrophic event that could trigger the need to have our own supply of critical items so that we can sustain ourselves until the end of that pandemic. That revealed that we had all kinds of semiconductor shortages in this country, so we were literally unable to run a modern economy, and that was just the pandemic. Imagine if your primary adversary disrupts critical supply chains, very extended and distributed supply chains, for malign and nefarious reasons. And so we had to harden ourselves against that contingency. And there are some other, narrow areas, but important national security adjacent areas that we're going to have to shore up as well. And now that we've passed the CHIPS and Science Act and it's being implemented, I think there's a recognition. It took a lot of argument, candidly, a lot of persuasion with people who I tend to see the world similarly with, who thought we should just let markets work in this case. But there are instances where government needs to selectively harden ourselves against disruptions. So I'm really proud of winning the argument and winning the vote on the back end of it, and we've had a lot of success unlocking about $500 billion in private sector commitments and counting. So I'll take one more question, and then we're going to have to wrap soon. You guys have been great. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, it's my turn, Senator. So,
all right, Judge.
So the anchor's going to weigh you down.
I'm standing at attention, Judge. All right.
So, Senator, I'm very concerned about what's going on in Iran. I'm particularly concerned about the fact that President Trump has made very strong commitments to protecting the people of Iran, and yet we haven't seen anything, at least on the surface, of that protection. Thousands of people are being killed. Tens of thousands of people are being disappeared. I think it would be a dangerous and a lost opportunity if we don't have regime change there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, listen, I want regime change, too. We got the leading state sponsor of terrorism, a dictator, and Khamenei, and those around him are horrible henchmen of the regime as well. And listen, I want the people to breathe free. The people of Iran to breathe free. It has historically been a well-educated society, and I think that so many of those people, long for freedom and the enjoyment of Western values. But in the meantime, their terrorist government is. Will try and reconstitute its ability to attack through proxies, and as long as they retain some nuclear expertise, which they do, they'll continue to be a threat on that front to us as well as to our closest allies like Israel. So my thought is, yes, we should be doing things. There are a lot of options. There is the diplomatic route. There's cyber. There are sanctions. There's language encouragement, the Farsi language encouragement. To the extent we still have those capabilities in our government, there's spec ops, and then there are foreign military capabilities. Just restate everything I just said through other governments and our friends and allies. So it's still fairly early in this whole thing, but timing is critical, and I know the administration is intently focused on this. Of course, we just had a meeting at the White House about this very topic yesterday, in which it was reported that the president is considering his menu of options. And, I did my little part yesterday to issue a public statement just through social media telling the people of Iran we stand in solidarity with them. We encourage them to continue to speak up, and I'm waiting to see what the president thinks we need to do. So I want to be supportive of his efforts as we deal with the situation. Glad to see you can at once not want forever wars, but stay deeply and smartly engaged in the world, and that's the balance I hope we strike.
Well, Senator Todd Young, senior senator from the great state of Indiana, it's been an honor and a privilege to have you on Let the Record Show. On behalf of Eric Levine, Chairman Garcia, and myself, I want to thank you for being with us this week. We look forward to having you again on the show as important developments occur throughout the world and throughout the United States. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Counselor, Chairman, and Judge, and I've really enjoyed this. You guys are very smart questioners, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you, Senator.
And good luck to the Hoosiers this weekend.
Go Hoosiers.
All right.
Out here.
Thank you, Senator. This is Let the Record Show. We've just been honored to have Senator Todd Young of Indiana, a great patriot, a great United States senator, a graduate of Annapolis, a former Navy officer and a Marine, and one smart guy, as John Caspatese would say. We're going to take a break now. We'll be back in about a few moments for our second segment with more important and interesting conversation. Please stay with us.
Thanks for listening to Let the Record Show. You can hear Let the Record Show Sunday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.